So I'm gonna say, Artie, you got to count down all the way because I didn't hear anything past 5. So either my earpiece is messed up or maybe we're live. I don't know. If we are, welcome to the show. If we're not, we'll see you in a second. Right now we are looking at podcast episode 20. We've named this one 20 questions. What's going to be a fantastic show. We're going to ask 20 questions of each other and hey, if we get the number wrong, let us know in the comments. That's going to be interesting. Today is September 26th, 2024, and episode 20 is a go. Let's see who's on deck. We've got myself, John, and then we've got Mike.
Hey, everybody.
We've got Jackson.
Hey.
And as always, our flight engineer, Artie.
Good evening.
So we're coming to you from various locations throughout the world, not just cyberspace, but the actual physical space. I am in location, and there may be a loud motorcycle drive by every once in a while. Apologize for the background noise. But we've got a fantastic set of questions, a set of stories to dive into. Artie, what's first on our list?
Well, first off, we wanted to talk about Atom Network. They got an award for the best secure access service edge device, or solution, I should say. And it's a rather prestigious award. There are a lot of people that vie for this one.
But they aced out people like Sophos, right?
Yeah. It's a novel approach to a problem that has persisted for as long as the internet's been out there. And it's one that, you ask somebody that doesn't know much about what a network would be. Yeah, stopping the bad things from going in or out is better than just stopping them from getting in.
Yeah, the don't talk to strangers and zero trust technology. And these are phrases that are tossed around quite a bit. I think the reason these guys chose Adam as the winner is because they proved it. I mean, I love David's question, and Stan asked this question of network administrators. So I'll ask a question to the audience. How do you prevent your trusted computers inside your network from reaching unknown IP addresses? Jackson, so you've got some experience in networking.
Yeah,
What
I've got
does
a
that
little bit.
question mean?
What does it mean? Essentially, we don't want our computer talking to or device talking to somebody's website or some other IP from the internet that we don't trust. Because a lot of times, I think people don't realize how much your device is actually doing in the background. There are lots of background processes that are grabbing things from the internet or doing things in the background just on your CPU, and so it's hard to see actually what's going on unless you are monitoring every single IP that comes in. So obviously blocking that means you're not going to allow uh, anything, whether it's background or active process, to talk to said IP.
What do you think, Mike?
Hmm.
Did you get the answer right?
I think so. I think I was just thinking about the question that, how would I do it if I didn't already have some device that could do it for me? What would I have to do? And there's even just in the IP version 4 address space, there's billions of potential addresses, right? When you type in a domain and a domain name server gives you some kind of resolution like, okay, this name translates into an IP address, I have no idea what that IP address is going to be, and it may even change from time to time too. So I can't I can't just go in and put my own like whitelist or blacklist of, good IP address, bad IP address, because part is because of that dynamic nature, the IP addresses may be changing. And I can't research billions of endpoints to know for sure which ones are good and which ones are bad. And so I think it's really great that this Atom solution that they've come up with, that they've done all that work, that they've been able to find a way to find out what is useful, what is needed, what can actually benefit people, and then just block everything else and assume that it's not trustworthy.
So I've heard other firewall vendors and other content filters say that they can do that. What makes Atom different? Artie, do you know the answer to that?
I believe that the big difference is that there is a whitelist versus a blacklist. And the whitelist is specifically sites that are known to be trusted, known to be trustworthy. And the major difference between the whitelist that they are employing and the whitelists that others might employ for their products is there is a very, very short lifespan on anything that's on the whitelist. So it will re-verify that something is still okay because, a website could get hacked or have some other issue come up.
That's right. So the blacklist that you're talking about, they actually don't have a blacklist. Everything is blocked. And only those things that are explicitly allowed through the whitelist have the ability to reach out to that site. So if you don't have access to, let's take ESPN. If you don't have access to ESPN because your organization has said no sports while you're at work, then you can't reach ESPN servers, period. And they've got a method by filtering that is pretty simple to set up and very robust on the implementation side.
What I think I find most intriguing from my research about what Atom does is their DNS Harmony, which essentially, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, it'll essentially go out to several DNS providers and will check IPs periodically to make sure that what is good is still is good. Because like Mike was saying, that IP that you want to go to originally, it could change. When I type in apple.com or google.com, there are several IP addresses that are linked to that. And it could change from, day-to-day basis. And so, one person, not every single business individually can be checking every single IP. That's why we have, these DNS providers. And so Atom will actually go out and check several of these and will cross-check IPs. And if a single one of them says that, okay, we don't trust this IP anymore, we don't trust this domain, it will lock that down.
Yep. Yeah, the more advanced features at the higher product levels let network administrators define which DNS to put into their DNS Harmony there. So you come with a prepackaged set that is pretty robust, but I'll tell you, when Cloudflare finds a problem with your site, they'll blacklist it. When Quad9s finds a problem with your site, they'll blacklist it. But they won't blacklist fast. First one to blacklist blacklists it for us from getting to it. I should say it removes from the whitelist. We're no longer allowed to see it. And to Artie, you said it refreshes every once in a while. It's every 5 minutes. It rescans the domain. So if a hacker breaks into a domain, takes over the page, puts some malware on it, they have about 5 minutes before it's found. Use them wisely. I think that it was said best. It takes the attack surface of the broadside of a barn and reduces it to about the size of a keyhole. It's not zero, but it feels like it. So, Mike, as a trusted technology partner, a licensed technology partner for Adam, what does that mean we get to do?
That means we get to set up and install Atom devices for any kind of business that would like to have one.
Yeah. So, anybody that's watching this podcast, we are licensed technology partners with Adam. We wanted to join them because this technology is that cool. We've been working with them for almost a year now, and it's just onward and upward, getting better every time. So congratulations to Adam winning that award. What is the name of the group, Artie, that gave the award?
Second, the 2024 SC Awards.
Nice.
And I'm trying to find out what that means.
So prestigious, we can't find the name. That's good. It's a very secretive organization. No, it's actually one of the more sought after awards to get in the industry because they take such a deep analysis of these firewalls. Security gateways, sorry. It's technically a security gateway, not a firewall. But I'll tell you what's next on our hit list here, guys? Artie?
I'm game for anything. Hit me with it.
The only thing that I had verified for today was the award. We got a few other things that would be interesting to talk about.
Yeah.
One major one would be there's a infighting amongst WordPress, certain WordPress sites and people involved with those that's actually decreased the security for some people on one of the branch servers.
Uh-oh.
What could possibly go wrong?
A
So
fun
what does that
one.
mean for someone dumb like me?
So essentially, there is because of, I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty of why it's happening, but essentially one server that required the updates for the WordPress protections, the security updates and stuff like that is no longer going to be serviced by WordPress. They are no longer going to have access to the API or the updates.
Ooh.
Yeah. This is something that started this week. So
thank you, sir. May I have another? My goodness, that's rough.
Mm-hmm.
So WordPress runs the majority of the internet, right?
About 45% of the internet.
Huh. Well, okay, so it's not the majority, but I don't think anybody comes any bigger than 45%, right?
They have the lion's share, correct?
They're the biggest minority. How about that? So that means a number of sites are going to be vulnerable?
Yeah. Essentially,
That
any
sounds-
sites that are hosted by, let me get the exact name of the thing. Any sites hosted on WP Engine are no longer going to receive any support, any updates for the foreseeable future until this is resolved. And since it looks like it's going to become a legal matter, it probably won't be resolved for months or years.
That's unfortunate. You know, one of the things I'm realizing, the more I do this tech thing, and the more I get involved with different groups. So WordPress is not an organization of 20,000 people working, right? Artie, could you look up and see how big the WordPress staffing is? Because I'm going to say, you know, the crew that checks out Linux, that does actual validation and commits to the kernel and to the project, and we're talking like 20 people. These people have phenomenal power and influence over what Linux is going to look like. But really, it comes down to just a couple people. Look at the ICANN and Aaron issuing names to the internet. These are small companies that have big impact. I think that's what really motivates me is you know, a small company like WoW Support. We could have a real big impact if we find the right combination of things to do. We just got to find out what that combination is.
All right. I cannot find anything regarding the population of their workforce, but there is a differentiation between WordPress.com, which is a business, and WordPress.org. However, both of them are against this third party. So just tossing that out there.
That's even more glorious. I mean, you got people that are arguing over, you know, the core technology. That's I could see that going sideways in so many ways. So what does a webmaster do with this information? If you're on these services, do you cut what you're doing and move to another service?
That is a viable choice. One of the groups that monitors the WordPress vulnerabilities has stated they're going to stop publishing for the time being. Any of the new vulnerabilities they find, they'll still report them, but they're not going to make them public, which is both, it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah. I like and hate that.
I am not
Keeps
going.
the people safe, but it really doesn't, because vulnerabilities are still out there.
You know, just from looking and kind of learning about it on my own, it appears that WP Engine is mostly focused on being a hosting provider, which, you know, lump them in with all the other host providers that are out there. You can find some that are local to where you live. You can find them that are clear across the country, or even in different countries altogether. You know, and there's lots of solutions for hosting a WordPress website. I've installed and uninstalled and reinstalled WordPress so many times in so many different ways. I don't think it's that big of a deal to me. If you are a webmaster that's using WP Engine and it's blocking your access to be able to use WordPress resources, maybe it's time to find another hosting provider. I mean, you can always download and install WordPress on your own and just make a backup of your existing site, grab all your plugins that you currently have installed, and, you know, reinstall it somewhere else.
Here's a good one for you, Mike. Anybody that needs help, they can call us, right?
Yeah, definitely. We definitely have the experience, and we've got several WordPress sites running for other people, and it's something we know how to do. So
We can migrate you from the questionable site, the one that's in dispute, and put you on something that'll last you for the long haul.
I
Or at least
would
until that one goes into dispute.
I would caution against taking sides in this dispute. I'm just
No,
trying
we're
to be
not taking
factual.
sides.
Yeah.
We're not taking sides. But if you want updates, sounds like you gotta move it somewhere else for a little bit.
yeah, at least until this gets resolved, for sure. Yeah. So
And the speed of the courts is not not the speed of technology. It's kind of exact opposite. So speaking of speed of tech, here's a fun one for you guys. I've seen several reports on different news channels. I've seen some YouTube creators talk about getting a a blackmail in their inbox. It's a threat of blackmail saying, and you know, I've copied a quote from one of them. Let me see if I can pull it up. It says, you open it up and you see a picture of your house, your car parked in front of it. It says, hello there. Unfortunately, I've got some bad news for you. Some time ago, your device was infected with my private Trojan remote administration tool. If you want to find out more, just simply Google that. My Trojan allowed me to access your files, accounts, and your camera. Check the sender of this email. I've sent it from your personal email account. To make sure you read this email, you will receive it multiple times. And it just goes on like that, and then starts saying, I've read your browsing history. I've captured you walking around your house with the camera, and just doesn't get specific, but gets very intimidating. It says, if you don't want your friends to see this, you have to send $2,000 via Bitcoin. So the interesting piece to this is, 1, it's got your name. 2, it's got your email address. 3, it's got your house. And 4, it has a unique Bitcoin wallet address for each recipient.
That's a lot.
It's virtually untraceable until you know that Bitcoin is traceable. But the fact that the wallets are fresh for each recipient, it's kind of a next level blackmail. So what do you do if you get one of these, Jackson? What would you do? You see your house, you see your car, you see your name, and you see your email address.
Guess I'm moving. No, if I were to guess as to how that they're doing this, we've been hearing about a few different data leaks. We actually, we know that they've happened. And that's super easy. That's an address, that's an email, and I'm not sure what else they might need. A name, address, email. I can go on to Google, put in an address, get the street view, and take a picture of your house. That's something that's not terribly uncommon. So that alone doesn't necessarily make me scared. Oh no, I have blackmail, right?
Mm-hmm.
As far as to what I'm gonna do in reaction to that, I mean, me, I'm gonna make sure I lock down that email. I'm gonna make sure I have 2-factor set up on that. As far as the house goes, I can't move houses. I can't move apartments very easily. Um, in that case, I'm just gonna delete it and ignore it. Report it if I can to, if it was on my work email, I'm obviously gonna report that to my IT team so that they can take a look at it. Don't click anything in it.
Yep. No, that's the right approach. Report it and walk away. There's nothing they can do to you. The fact that they've got your name, your address, your pictures, they don't have pictures that they didn't use Google Street View to go find it. So my guess at this is that they've scraped the data that's been leaked from all these, credit bureaus and all the, background check places, national public data for one. They just correlate that together and write a script and say, okay, first name from this data field in the database. Second would be a picture harvested from Google for that person's address. Third thing, create a new wallet. Send.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy. You can write a bot to do that and not that much time.
You don't
Yep.
even need to write a bot, I guess, because people could co-opt the AI that's out there to collate all that information in its entirety.
True.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're getting real close to a revolution in AI. The CEO of Google was at a talk at, I think it was Stanford. He was saying very soon we're all going to have the ability to use AI to write programs, to be our digital assistant, our virtual assistant, to be able to go out and do things for us in computer land. I'm paraphrasing. So, I mean, it'd be almost nothing. Right now, you need some skill to do this blackmail scam. But he was saying in the very near future, you could say, hey, my AI bot, I want to build a competitor to Google Docs. Let's do it. And it will do it. And so
Yeah,
the
that's
programming power is going to be all in our hands very soon.
and if it gets to that point, what kind of power does, say, OpenAI have to then claim your software, right? Because you certainly didn't
Mhm.
make it. Their chat did. So I mean, that then could become a huge monopoly. And I can testify to as how, at least ChatGPT, I'm currently learning and coding in C and C++, and I come from a background in Python. It's kind of hard to go backwards almost. C is a lot more, in the nitty gritty. And so, but ChatGPT is great at teaching C, at least to someone who has a background in programming, and I can decipher some things. But it was great. I mean, I've obviously I have to go and fact check a lot of what it says and make sure that code actually does work. But as far as, hey, explain to me what the heck this function does, or what is this header file, what's in it, and it spits you out a great answer. And so it's pretty good at C. And I believe that as as time goes on and as these large language models get better, it would not surprise me if that's the case, where eventually you just get to the point where you just throw in a question or a task, and it'll output you a program that'll go do it, or it'll just go do it by itself.
Be right back, guys.
I think we already talked about this before, but you mentioned what claim that the AI is going to have on created works. And I think one of the other episodes, maybe we talked about before, about the fact that if AI is just scraping the internet of works that are already out there, what claim do original creators have for
True.
lending like this inspiration or or an element that then chat uses, or the AI uses in like a picture or a song composition, or poetry, or whatever it may be, and I think there's already been some discussions of, well, you stole that from me, your AI,
Now wait
yeah,
a
it could be
minute.
inspired by it, but he took that from me, and I did that element. I need credit for that element, and it's it's gonna get
Oh, that's
messy. It's gonna get messy.
well. Let's be 100% on this one. Everything AI does is derivative.
Hmm.
It does not create, doesn't know how, it can't.
The moment it
And
stops
blend,
being derivative is when we get scared.
yeah. Somebody asked me. I took a trip to DC, and that's partly why we didn't have a podcast last week. Somebody asked me out there, what my thoughts were on AI and should we be afraid. I gave them my answer of, I will be afraid when AI starts asking questions instead of just answering them.
Hmm.
So right now, it's just you ask it a question and it spits out an answer that's derived from everything it knows, everything it's been trained, and everything it does. But when it stops just being a parrot, when it starts actually thinking for itself, it's going to start asking questions.
Hmm. And honestly, I have no idea how you would have a computer. I don't know if it's possible. And maybe that's what's so beautiful about life, is that, we can actually create things and computers can't. Because if you think about it, your computer can't even be random. It can't. It has to be told how to be random. And so that's what I think is also funny, is, there are some people who spend their entire careers, all they do is make these random number generators. Like, that's all they do, is they make these algorithms to make, a better random number generator. And so to me, it's baffling to try and think about how you, um, like, how you tell a computer to then go tell itself to go do something. It can't.
Have you seen the wall of entropy at Cloudflare?
Is that the lava lamps?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the big wall. It's got like 250 lava lamps. I'm guessing at that number, but it's just got lava lamps and it has a camera, and the motion generates a random number, and it's the closest we've gotten to a random number generator.
Right. I mean
But you're spot on. We don't have random.
yeah, so if we can't even get random, how are you going to get it to actually, create anything? I guess that's the first step, right? Can you get it to be random? Humans can't even really
And
be random that well.
and I think that's why we're further off from the artificial general intelligence. You know, the one that can think like us. I think we're way far away from that still. I don't
Yeah.
think it's like 100 years away, but I think, um, you know, the people say we just need to feed it more information. Well, we've already fed all the AIs the compendium of human knowledge and experience. We put everything we've done into these things. There's nothing more we could teach them.
Yeah.
We need to come at it with a different approach.
I'm really curious. And I know Google, everyone's trying to, all the search engines out there trying to implement AI into their responses, and it's still not great. But I mean, the best, I think, the most recent use that I've had that I've enjoyed is just asking it a question. Instead of me having to go Google searching and scouring all these different links to go find an answer, like to the actual question I asked. I remember that's always the worst, is like you enter a question and there's someone on Reddit who asked the same one and nobody gave a good response, then you have to go find somewhere else. Anyway, you, instead of wasting my time doing that for 20 minutes, there's an AI that, AI we should say, that already went and did it. And it can output me, a summary of that. And that is, to me, is such a time saver. And of course, you have to go and check it and make sure it's true. But for simple things, it's really a great resource.
It really is.
Even with humans that know, like, book smart, know lots of stuff, there are people that would argue that some people still aren't that intelligent despite how much they know. So, it is a challenge. And yeah, to get a computer to think independently on its own, I think it's a long, long way off. And it may require a level of computing that we can't even fathom at this point.
Could very well be. I mean, the closest I can see, and again, this is not, take this with a grain of salt, but I mean, there is what's called a neural network, right? And oftentimes those are generated or created by, in my mind, I think of, like, you give it a cookie if it does good, or if it does bad, you give it a little slap, right? And so, I mean, if you were to start that from ground zero, and then you would have to give it the ability to know how to write its own code. So then, you know, say you give it simple tasks, do this, and if it does it right, you give it a cookie. If it does it wrong, give it a slap and it has to go try and write some code to go do it. And then, I mean, that would be as good of an option as I could think of it turning itself into free thinking, but it's really not.
And
My,
I don't
go
remember
ahead.
if it was something we've discussed before, but there was the one system that had the positive and negative flipped, so that anytime they tried to reinforce saying, yes, this was a good thing, it was going the opposite direction. And it would generate horrific images because it kept on, those two wires were crossed. So they say, no, we don't want this. And it's like, oh, you want more of this? Okay.
And they got darker and darker and darker, and they couldn't make it stop because it ran all night and really got twisted and wrong. Yeah, that's a fun story. If anybody wants to dive into it, I think we'd get demonetized if we talked about all the nuance there. But other channels braver than us would happily give some details on that. Mike, you brought up a good point. We need more processing power. Did you hear about Microsoft reviving 3 Mile Island?
No,
What
I
is
did
that?
not hear about that. For what
Oh,
purpose do
Jackson,
they
did
want
you
to do
just say
that?
what's that?
3 Mile Island?
You don't know what 3 Mile Island
Oh,
is?
No.
Oh, he's from the wrong
Oh,
generation, obviously.
sit back. We got a story for you. This is
Hey, get your
y-
notepad out, because along with this, you need to put
so you've
down
heard of
another.
Chernobyl. Chernobyl
Chernobyl.
was a 10 out of 10, right? That was bad. 3 Mile Island was what, like a 4 out of 10?
Yeah,
it would have been worse if the area hadn't been evacuated first.
Yep.
true.
Yeah, so they had a meltdown at one of the reactors at 3 Mile Island. It's a little island in Pennsylvania. Got some. It still has the cooling towers up. Microsoft is trying to revive it, not the one that melted down, but the ones next to it, to get enough electricity for their new data centers.
Mm.
They tried the underwater. They've tried all kinds of stuff, and now they're going nuclear. To take
Really.
the pun. Microsoft wants to revive this to power AI, and they're saying that I had an opportunity to see the CEO of TerraPower talk about the future and where it's heading. He said in 50 years, we will need triple the power we've got. Now, that sounds
That's it?
not bad, but still big. Jackson, what if I told you we have to grow the grid 12% every year to achieve that?
No, that's a lot.
We
When
have
you
to
say,
have 12% more this year, and then next year we have to have 12% more of what that was compounded.
all right, that's a lot.
Yeah. So, you know, the whole idea of wind and solar, great. Let's do some of that. But
Nuclear is the
we're
only way
going to
you're
need
gonna get that.
12% more this year.
Yeah.
Oh, hearing about that reminded me of something. There is a company called MiHoYo. They
Mm-hmm.
make video games. They have invested in fusion reactors, and they have invested enough to actually get one started. And it is the first solely commercial owned, because most reactors like that are owned by governments in part. But this was the first one that was owned completely by non-government entities. And I'm wondering if Microsoft is wanting to follow suit.
Well, and it makes sense. It starts at a government. You know, if for something as awesome as nuclear power, as something as awesome as fusion, you know, space travel. No company is going to get together and say, "Hey, let's put a man on the moon," and realistically do it. There's no return on investment for that. There's no, you know, investors aren't going to say, "Hey, let's do that because it's pretty cool." They're going to say, "We're not doing that because we're not going to make money off this." So that's not what we're going to do.
Correction,
So the
fission.
government has to do some of these things. So learning the lessons and doing your own fusion, that is pretty dang cool.
Fission, not fusion. We don't have fusion yet.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I get those two mixed up. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I thought it was fusion too for some reason. But we have had fusion work a couple times, but it's been through government research. For a split second, they got more out than they put in.
Yeah, and as we've been talking about nuclear power, it's reminded me. I did see this headline uh, at the end of 2022, um, where a professor at a university was actually developing new methods of nuclear reaction to actually make the process and the actual word I'm looking for, not maintenance, but running of these nuclear power plants, more feasible. Because as of right now, I think the planning and the building and I mean the time it takes to even get one of these up and running is several years. Like I think I've seen even is like it can be a decade, right?
Mhm.
But there are new methods of these power plants being developed, which can make the build time, planning time, cut that into a fraction. And I've got an article pulled up here, and they said that it's actually safer, right? And so that was this professor's. I think it was Professor BYU Chemical Engineering Professor Matthew Memmott developed a new way, which was using molten salt. I think things that I don't understand. I'm no chemist, but it's interesting to see, kind of like what we were saying with the computing. There always has to be some new breakthrough in a way that we don't typically think of things that will make the future possible.
That's what's so exciting. I mean, there's so many people getting into tech fields and doing creative and wonderful things. I love this time. I love the growth that's happening. I don't want to date myself too bad, but I grew up with an 8-track player, actually 8-track recorder. If anybody's ever seen one of those, I grew up with rotary dial phones. Jackson, have you ever seen a rotary dial phone
Yeah, I've seen a rotary dial.
in real life?
Yeah, I've seen one.
Okay.
I've played
Okay,
with
that's
one.
good.
I don't think it's plugged in.
I've
In a
used one
museum.
to actually make a phone call.
I've
Real phone
definitely
call.
never made one to make a phone call.
Those things were fun. The technology is pretty cool. What's amazing to me is 10 digits on an old rotary dial phone, which in some networks still works. You dial 10 digits, you can call any person in the entire United States. 11 if you dial 1.
Mhm.
But think about that. What kind of network would it take for 11 digits or 10 unique digits to get to any person? How complicated is it for you to pick up the receiver, dial some numbers on a copper line, and then it also then rings your cell phone? Oh, and your cell phone can go anywhere in the country too. It's a phenomenal system we've got going. But there was a video that I just saw. I'm going to say it wrong. Virtuism?
I think it's Veritasium.
Veritasium. Virtuism.
Potassium. Yeah.
Veritasium. He just showed Linus from Linus Tech Tips a fantastic hack of the system underneath our phone networks. He rerouted a call. Steve from Hacksmith was going to call Linus. And so Veritasium was sitting there and said, tell you what, we're going to reroute that call. Steve from Hacksmith called, started talking, and thought he was talking to Linus. And with Linus on a video call, not necessarily approving this hack, but just observing it with wonder and awe, saw that he's now, Steve from Hacksmith is talking to not Linus and confirming details for their meeting that night. So I was able to reroute the 10 digits to another cell phone. Nobody knew. Can't stop it. It's just going to go. Mike, you watched that video.
Mm-hmm.
How would you protect yourself from getting your phone ripped out from underneath you?
Discontinue my phone service and throw it away.
You remember it was re-engaging the phone, reset the system, reset the routes? So I hate to say it, but it's one of those, more use on your phone will reset it with the carrier and keep you mostly safe from this new hack that was discovered.
Mhm.
Well, I
The
think my
downside is,
generation's safe.
I don't know about that.
They're always on their phones. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, scrolling through TikTok. Don't do TikTok. Scrolling through TikTok, through YouTube Shorts, all those not worth it. That doesn't keep your phone connected to the network. You got to text, and you gotta make
Phone
calls.
calls. Yeah.
If it were up to calls, we'd be screwed.
So, Mike, how does somebody who can't throw away the phone prevent that from turning into a thing? What if Hacksmith asked Linus, "Hey, what did we do last time we got together?"
Yeah, you're gonna have to do your own version of two-factor authentication. It's gotta be a challenge and a response for things that only you and the other person would know for certain.
Yep. It could be a secret phrase, secret code. It could be, it's in that place I put that thing that time. Artie might remember that one.
Yep.
The inside jokes. Who would have thought that inside jokes would be a level of security?
Right?
It's always been a level of security, especially with the way social networking runs.
Yeah.
If you are trying to ingratiate yourself to somebody, knowing some of their history or the interactions that they've had with other people can greatly improve the chances of having a social engineering attempt succeed. Because it's not just always overwhelming them with information. That's something that they look out for. But most people should look out for being overwhelmed with information. But yeah, I saw you with Gary over there like 3 nights ago at this place. And it's like, okay, yeah, I was at that place, so this person must know me. It's one of those creating trust or trying to leverage more information out of them.
Yep.
Or showing
Well,
people
and then
just how much of a creep you are.
it's weird. Who'd have thought that would turn into a survival trait? I mean, we get these deep fake voices, deep fake videos. It's vulnerable.
Hmm.
And if our phones get redirected and hacked, oh my goodness. So we don't have just a little bit of a problem, but we have an opportunity here. We have a fantastic opportunity. So I'm going to say, if you want to stay secure in the world, know the people you're talking to and have a personal relationship with them and refer back to it in your conversations. Refer back to different things at different times. So AI can't remember AI could remember, I guess, everything, but so that AI can't just come up with, I had a Henry Weinhardt's root beer with that apple pie that night.
Hmm.
That's the way I'm going to stay safe.
I guess I should eat more pies.
So what you're saying is people with bad memories are not going to be very successful in this future.
Maybe. I mean, it's more personalities, right? It's like, hey, isn't your favorite pizza pineapple pizza, Hawaiian pizza, which is arguably one of the least liked pizzas in the world?
I love pineapple pizza. Love it.
I do too.
I'll go to war with the people who try and push down us
Every
Hawaiian pizza lovers.
country has their own select ingredients. Like, would you consider peas and mayonnaise pizza toppings?
Absolutely not. And that's
I would
Exactly.
consider
objectively terrible.
we should shoot you on the White House lawn for treason. That is horrible.
I haven't had it. I'm just saying that in
Italians will
some
get to you
countries,
first.
those are valid
I,
ingredients.
I could see mayonnaise maybe, but
No,
Oh,
not
no.
peas at all. and not peas and mayonnaise. Oh heaven, no, 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 no.
Well, for one, if you ever go to Brazil, they have corn on their pizza.
I've heard that.
Corn on their
It's actually
pizza.
good.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. I don't know if it's not always my favorite
It depends on
choice.
the corn.
It does. It would depend on the corn.
But it does have it's got its niche.
But pineapple, extra cheese, no sauce. Try it sometime.
No sauce.
Try it.
I have to go make my own pizza.
Or order it from your favorite carrier. I don't want to call one out by name on this podcast and subsequently get. Anyways, we're not playing with the algorithm that way tonight, gentlemen.
I don't know if I don't know
Pineapple,
if I can get behind that.
try it.
Why ruin it?
It's your homework. Between now and the next podcast, you must try this.
All right, watch me. I will. I'm dying to get a Hawaiian pizza.
We demand video evidence.
Yeah, not Canadian bacon, no ham, no none of that. Pineapple only. Extra cheese, no sauce.
No, that's like might as well just eat a fruit pizza at that point.
Right.
He's
And
not
I
wrong.
encourage our viewers to leave a note in the comment of, is this a good idea, a bad idea? What dimension should we be banished to for talking about Hawaiian pizza? Or is there a good version of Hawaiian pizza that you've tried? I think there is. Hawaiian pizza is one of the best pizzas. And I will argue this point with my children all the time.
Well, we can't use that point anymore. Now the entire internet knows we like Hawaiian pizza.
Well, I could mix it up. So anyways, I don't know where we're going next. I know we're kind of towards the bottom of the hour here, gentlemen.
Let's end with something that is kind of a neat thing. The people that have been working on Winamp for many, many years have decided to make it an open source project. And
finally.
they released the code on GitHub yesterday, the 25th, I believe.
25 million
Winamp, huh?
downloads, right?
Wow.
Well, within 24 hours, they had about 600 forks made for it.
Works.
That's a lot of
But-
forks.
600.
Oh my goodness.
Forks.
But essentially, if you don't know what Winamp is, Jackson, it was one of the first non-Apple, non-Microsoft based music players. And it came out.
Worked.
Yeah, that worked. And it worked with almost every audio codec. And it also came out about the same time that MP3 started to become popular, so they grew together. And after a few years...
That reminds me, is it kind of like a counterpart to, say, VLC?
I would
VLC
say that
came
it's
after?
similar, but now that they're both open source, I'd say that they are now closer than they were before.
All right, pop
Interesting.
quiz. I want your first word to describe your experience with Realplayer.
I'm not allowed to swear on this podcast.
Oh my goodness.
I just
I
throw from my
forgot.
mouth a little bit.
I forgot that was a thing.
I can't tell you, Jackson. It's a program that had its own streaming protocol. It's kind of cool, but it hijacked every picture, movie, sound, everything on your computer would play in Realplayer all of a sudden because you installed it.
You remember
It was
when
king of the defaults,
websites?
huh?
Remember when websites would like list a file and it's like listen to it, and you had your choice of, like maybe Apple
MP3.
QuickTime,
Yep.
Realplayer, and there's like one or two others after that. Gosh, Realplayer. Wow.
Yeah, I don't
So
No, I was always just VLC. That was my childhood.
the best
Yep.
way to describe my experience with Realplayer is, have you ever gone to YouTube and had a video that you hit play and it just continues buffering and it doesn't play, it just buffers? That is the Realplayer experience. Even if the file is on your drive, it's buffering forever.
And then they improved it. They started putting ads into things.
Oh no, they did not.
Yeah,
That's
they were
horrid.
losing money.
I
They
wonder
needed to
why.
try and find some way, right? My favorite version of Winamp, and you know, I'm inviting everybody in the comments section now. What was your favorite version of Winamp? Mine was 291.
What
When it
made
I'll
it
went
so
check
version
what I've
special?
3,
got
it went just a
installed.
little. What's that?
I've got to check which version I've got installed.
291 stopped working. You had to get newer versions for it to be compatible with some of the stuff coming out.
That's
Mm.
right. I've got
With a
5.8 right
clean
now.
look. I mean, that was the real deal. I mean, you could actually play MP3s, stack them up on a playlist, and go. And you don't have any of those crazy visualizations or any of that stuff.
They did have that
Although,
option though.
yeah, I did, but I did like the idea of putting an EQ per MP3
Oh,
and a
that's
sound
kind of nice.
boost per MP3. That was kind of nice.
This
Unfortunately,
interface
closed
is.
ecosystem.
I'm looking at a screenshot of this interface, and it reminds me so much of Strong Bad. Do you guys
Yeah,
know who that is?
Mhm.
yeah, that's where they got it.
Nah, that's so funny. Yeah, that is totally gives me Strong Bad vibes.
For
The
the longest
fact
time,
that you
they
even
came up
know
with
who
that.
that is, that's amazing, Jackson.
I've been well cultured, I might say, if I'm so brave to say.
I agree. You have been.
Mhm.
Yeah, we just got to get you to watch Ghostbusters, the OG version.
Yeah. No, I should watch it. I have no reason not to. I just haven't.
It's a good movie. I remember why I watched it the first time as a kid, and I loved it.
I remember the first time watching it as an adult after watching it as a kid and getting so many more of the jokes.
Mhm.
That movie was definitely fundamental to so much of science fiction and so much of our ethos right now. They actually had to fight for the name Ghostbusters.
Who were they fighting?
Gosh, what was it? That was it Ghost Breakers?
No, it
Mm-mm.
was Ghostbusters.
It was Ghostbusters.
It
Nate,
was
Artie,
the ape with the scientist and the car that was possessed by a ghost.
name the production company.
Oh,
Artie.
that I don't know. I know that there was a live action, there was a cartoon version.
They
And
did some other well-known cartoons you might have heard of.
trying to remember, I think it was Larry Storch that was in it. One of the guys from F Troop. It's been a long time since I looked into that.
Filmation, I believe.
Yeah, is that
The
it
makers
looked
of
like
He-Man and She-Ra and all that stuff.
looking at this picture, this makes me it honestly looks like Scooby-Doo. This car
Mm-hmm.
characters. Scooby-Doo and He-Man had a crossover. That's funny. So, well, I mean, how'd they get that then? If they already had a TV series for it.
I
Did they
Well,
believe
the
that there
movie
were
came first, right?
Oh, did it actually?
the live action came first, and
Live action TV show came first,
The
right?
TV
yes,
show was 1986. Or sorry, that's that might be the cartoon.
so the Ghostbusters was the name, and it was separated. Each word was its own thing, whereas the one by Dan Aykroyd and his group was a single word. And when they had the cartoon come out, because at the same time there was a Ghostbusters cartoon for the 70s show come out, they named theirs The Real Ghostbusters. So kind of like thumbing their nose at them.
Mm-hmm. I remember that. I remember when all that happened.
Yeah, there was a documentary I saw. I might be Netflix, might be something where they talked about the original name of the movie was like Ghost Breakers because of that, or Ghost Stoppers or something. I don't remember exactly, but they didn't have the rights to Ghostbusters.
The Ghost Getters.
And there was that scene at the end where you have the whole crowd cheering the Ghostbusters on to go beat Zool, and the crowd is screaming Ghostbusters, Ghostbusters, and one of the guys called up one of the other producers and said, "Hey, listen to this," and held out the phone for. It's like, we got to get this. They don't like the other name.
Right. Fun stuff.
Yeah, there's some great content out there. There's some great science fiction. I mean, I can't tell you how much Star Trek impacted my desire to become interested in technology, but I guess I was born with a knack and turned my hobby into a profession. But I think we're at the bottom of the hour, guys. I think we got to wrap this up. Do you have any parting thoughts for us, Jackson?
I do not.
You do
Nothing.
not. Ooh, we've drained his well of knowledge. It is got to recover as he continues his
it's a-
college classes.
It's a shallow well.
It's a shallow well. I doubt that. I doubt that much, sir. But hey, we'll have to see what you got for us next time. Mike, do you
Sounds
have
good.
any last thoughts?
Nope, nothing particular. Just stay safe out there.
Very cool. Artie, how about you wrap us up?
But I'm out of foil. How am I going to wrap it up without foil?
Nice.
Have yourselves a wonderful night.
Take care, everybody. This is John.
And Mike.
Jackson.
And Artie.
Take care.